Hey everybody, Nate Peo here. You've probably heard you should be networking on LinkedIn if you want to meet new clients. We have no idea where to begin. What I've done is I've created a 5-step guide to help make your profile stand out and helping you get started connecting. When you start building your network, you're going to start attracting more leads. So it's easy. Head on over to my website, natepeo.com, sign up and get my 5 steps of standing out on LinkedIn. And I'll show you how to start building your network.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. In How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a 6-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Peo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
Hello, and welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Peo. Of course, I am your host, Nate Peo. My guest today is Randall Shapiro. Randall is the co-founder and CEO of Miravel, an ag tech startup helping to drive our transition to a decentralized food system. While you may find him doubling day-to-day as a virtual farmer, behind the scenes, Randall is a quirky, lighthearted design enthusiast who has developed expertise in building brands, managing product development, and creating meaningful customer relationships. Randall earned his BSB from Indiana University's Kelley School of Business, where he was awarded the 2018 Kelley Coin. Before starting Miravel, Randall was he also had a job as a financial analyst for a private real estate company where he underwrote bridge and ground-up construction loans on multi-million-dollar properties. Randall is extremely passionate about giving back to his community and is a strong believer that a diverse range of experiences will create a more informed perspective on the world that we live in. He loves working with people who are bright, determined, and crazy enough to think they can change the world. They are the ones who usually do. Welcome to the show, Randall. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Nate. I really appreciate it.
Cool. So you're in LA now, but you went to school. Are you from Indiana?
No, so I'm actually from the San Francisco Bay Area. And so the co-founder of this business, Miravel, is a gentleman named Riley Kuffner, who's been my longtime friend. We went to high school together and used to be a journalism nerd in high school with him in San Francisco, but ended up in Indiana because for a long time, my dream was really to work in the Midwest in Chicago somewhere. My family is from the Midwest originally, or at least my dad's side is. And so I grew up, going to Chicago Cubs games and going out there to see family. So it was always something that had guided my progression of really where I wanted to end up. So that's why I ended up going to school over there. I was fortunate enough to study outside the state.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Most people in the Midwest leave the Midwest to move to California, but rarely do you hear people leave California to go back to the Midwest. But to say like, hey, I want to go to Chicago, Yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's a big, fun city, and I totally dig you on the Cubs. Like when I grew up in Nebraska, and
Okay.
there was uh, baseball on every day on two channels, WGN and TBS. So it was either you watch the Cubs or you watch the Braves, and I hated the Atlanta Braves, and we watched the Cubs all the time with Harry Carey, and I guess because of that, I was a Cubs fan growing up. Even though I guess the Kansas City Royals are probably closer to Nebraska, so it makes total
Yeah,
sense.
sure.
I wanted to talk before we dig into what Miravel does is this idea of diverse range of experience will create a more informed perspective on the world we live in. I love that because I'm a big believer is the ideas we're exposed to shape really who we are. And if we're living in kind of like a bubble, an isolated thing, we don't really get out of our neighborhood, we just kind of see the same people all the time, we're just exposed to the same ideas and we don't change our thinking. But when you start getting outside of, I like for me, I grew up in Nebraska and it was pretty homogenous of the people I interacted with on a day-to-day basis. I moved to California and it's a lot more diversified. And you start meeting people from different cultures and you just change your perspective on the way you look at people and the way you relate to people and the ideas you share. It just completely changes. I'm such a huge advocate of, hey, go out and see how other people live, how they interact with people. It's going to expose you to a new way of living, and I think it's going to impact the way you view the world and of yourself. And it definitely changes this idea of, hey, how can I do more to the world? How can I do more good? So what kind of brought you to that mindset? Because you, like you said, you're 23, you're young, full of energy to take on the world, but that's not something a lot of people come to grasp with so early in their life.
Yeah, I think for me, I was pretty fortunate to grow up in a really nice community just just north of the Golden Gate Bridge, called Mill Valley. It's my hometown, and I went to a public school out there and got to know a lot of different people outside of my background. And I think that in doing that, especially while I was doing journalism too, I got to explore and investigate different areas of our surrounding community, not just within Mill Valley, but in the city or even outside our community there. And I think that getting to have those experiences at an early age was really beneficial to my development of understanding that just because somebody comes from a different background or they don't necessarily share your worldview doesn't mean that they have intrinsically different human values than you. And I think that, in certain circumstances that I'm thinking of in my head, seeing, friends of mine being put in challenging situations and still acting with that same sort of compass, being driven by really pure values, helped me understand that just because we're different in a lot of different ways doesn't mean that we're not all human beings and we can't all show, a baseline level of respect to other people and our community and environment at large.
For sure. How has that helped you on your journey as becoming a startup founder of a tech company?
Yeah, I think it's helped a lot. When I went out to Indiana for school, part of what really drove that decision was getting to go and be a part of the school outside of the state of California. Because I think, in a large sense, I got to see a lot of great things about the state, and I grew up in an amazingly beautiful, thriving, diverse place. And Bloomington, Indiana, where I went to school, is very similar in that regard. But a lot of the students who go to Indiana University are from Indiana, and they might be from more rural communities. They might be from other areas of the Midwest. And just getting to experience that, really helped me grow as an individual and getting to experience, those different kind of perspectives. While at school, I also had the opportunity to study abroad in Hong Kong, which was really impactful on my experience as well. I speak a little bit of Mandarin, which, in Hong Kong, they speak Cantonese, but I got to study, Mandarin further while in Hong Kong, and actually got to travel in China for about a month after the program was over, just by myself, which was really impactful. And I think that without that initial experience early on of understanding the value of getting those experiences and getting out there and doing something different, I don't think I would have chosen to study in a place like Hong Kong, for example, for a semester. So I think that initial experience really helped guide my future decision-making when it came to those elements. And I think those experiences of being able to travel in a place like Hong Kong for a month or all over Southeast Asia has been really helpful while starting this business, especially considering we're a product company and a lot of the different parts and pieces that go into making our devices might come from another part of the world. So specifically, Southeast Asia, for example. And so being really able to understand, I know where Shenzhen is. I know where, trucks would have to drive in order to get to certain ports in Hong Kong to then come to the US. That's pretty helpful information, when you're trying to track down a global supply chain. So I think that that really has been beneficial, having those experiences. And, I always try to put myself in them if I have the opportunity to.
Yeah, fantastic answer. So it's kind of interesting that you grew up in the Bay Area and you went to school for business, but why ag tech? Like, it's like this interesting choice of like, hey, this guy's never probably even seen a farm until he went to Indiana and he's going to go into ag tech. But you can expand on that a little bit. What I really want to know right now is, tell us a little bit about what Miravel is. What are you guys doing? Why are you doing it? And why now?
Yeah, totally. So Miravel is a company that designs beautiful and functional art installations, wall art installations that grow fresh food for you in your everyday environment. And so the idea about our product, our first product, the Simple Garden, is that you can take it and hang it up on the wall just like a large picture frame. But inside, you can automatically grow your own food. So you can have fresh herbs, leafy greens for salads, microgreens for flavor, and down the road, even like fruiting and flowering plants. And the inspiration for the product really came from my business partner, Riley. Riley he describes himself as a hippie philosopher. I've known him for a very long time, and I know that he really, really loves to write, for example. He'll be up late night just like writing his thoughts and, his thinking about different processes. And this product and idea actually got started when he was a student at UCLA. He was, analyzing like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and thinking about like, what do people really need to function and to live as people? And how can people achieve their maximum potential? And what he kind of was thinking about from a theoretical perspective is, if everybody's needs are taken care of, they have food, water, shelter, things like that, energy, in today's day and age, that people have a lot more free time and they can invest their free time in things that help our society grow in major ways. And so, this project was a byproduct of a lot of different projects that he was really thinking about and working on while as a student. And how I got roped into it was, I was studying in Indiana. I had gone and taken an internship at Ernst & Young doing management consulting stuff summer right before I was a senior. And I get in there. My whole life I've been very startup-y. I was putting flyers up as a kid about walking dogs and taking care of plants. And I worked at the local market bagging groceries when I was 13, 14. So that was my existence. But I was really interested in like what corporate America would be like. And I get in there and it was almost like an immediate aversion. It was like, ugh, like it was not for me at all. And I think that having a really negative work experience with a really negative, boss at first is an eye-opening experience. And I hadn't really had that in a major way until then. I never had felt in my life so boxed in and, really closed down. And so following the summer, I was talking to Riley, and we've always talked about all sorts of different business, opportunities. We started to realize that we aligned on a couple really major things. We both were really passionate about sustainability. Riley had been working on all sorts of sustainable technologies, from electric vehicles to food growing systems like we have adapted for the company. But we also were really passionate about health, about living healthy, about being healthy, both mentally and physically. And the third, which was more of a passion of my own, was design. I'm a huge fan of how design, can make people feel and can influence, behavior and change, the decisions that people make. And so those really formed our three pillars. And so as a company, our three pillars are health is a human right, design moves people and sustainability matters. And those, aligned values got us talking about this project. And once I saw the project and some initial renderings of how this could look in the home, I was sold. I turned down job opportunities at school to come and move out here. So literally came straight from college, moved to Los Angeles. And similar to your reaction, a lot of my friends were like, what, you're going to move to LA to be a vertical farmer? Like, what is this? But I've been so happy with the decision I've made. And I think it's really rewarding to see, a year, 2 years, 3 years of work really start to pay off in a meaningful way. And so I think, our company has done really well to this point, and we're on the precipice, I think, of something really big.
Mm-hmm. So the type of products you're putting together is, you describe it as like a living art, like a what they call like a living wall with herbs. What makes your product different than, say, something else? Because I've seen living walls in other places, and they're usually some sort of frame, some sort of baskety carrying thing, and you just slide your little whatever it is, the wall plants you want to put in, indoor plants, herbs gardens. Like, what makes yours different, and how is it impacting the world that you're trying to change?
Totally, yeah. When we first started and looked into this product, we were asking some really core questions about humans and their behavior. And one of the main things that we would ask people is, do you grow your own food? And overwhelmingly today, especially if you're in an urban environment, the answer is no. I don't grow my own food. And maybe if you're in like a really kind of cutting edge, boho-y, type of place, but otherwise that's not really a thing. And so our next questions were, well, why don't you grow your own food? And we heard the same things from people time and time again, is they don't have the space, the time, or the knowledge to do so, in their home environment. A lot of times when people begin to garden, they do things that are simple, right? They grow plants that maybe don't need a ton of light or don't need a ton of water, like succulents, for example. Mm-hmm. But what we found is a lot of people, they might have explored growing their own herbs, like on a windowsill or something, but it's really hard to keep plants alive. There's a lot that goes into, keeping plants alive. One of the main things is light, is making sure that especially food plants get the light that they need in order to thrive and be healthy, large plants that can really provide nutritional value. And so the way our systems are different is we use a technology that we're calling autonomous horticulture, which has a variety of different elements. The first being is light. So each unit has built-in LED grow lights that, unlike sciencey products that might have purple or blues, we use an infusion of light that appears to the naked eye as a really aesthetic kind of white light. And then we also have automatic irrigation. So it automatically waters for you. All you have to do is remember to fill up the system every couple of weeks. But we use hydroponics, which has been used a lot of times in the cannabis industry, but has a ton of relevant connection to food growing because it's incredibly water efficient and it's very land efficient. You don't need to use as much space to grow food. So we utilize a pretty unique form of hydroponics in connection with LED grow lights, as well as air filtration to get air moving around the plants. And the result is something really amazing for our customers. And so one of the things we do is we send out our seed squares to people. We have developed a really proprietary material that's soil-free, so there's no mess and grime for people. And our squares come pre-seeded with whatever they selected on our website. And the squares have built-in plant-specific nutrients. So they're optimized to grow whatever seed is in there, really to a thriving level. So all people need to do is take the squares, put them in the system, and watch their food come to life right in front of their eyes, completely without any effort.
That's amazing, because you talk about, for me, what are the pain points of growing my own herbs and vegetables or whatever, and I do try to do some in the backyard in the planter, and it's always the same. It's messy, dirty. 1, 2, the time constraint of going in and babying everything. Totally. The light, the heat, the sun, the water, all that stuff is a challenge. And then watering consistently, unless you got it hooked up to an automatic irrigation. It's like, oh, I don't feel like going outside and doing that today. Well, you forget to do that. It's 100 degrees outside 2 days in a row. All of a sudden, your herbs, they don't like it too much. They burn up and do it. So you made it simplified. And the other thing that you talked about was the space savingness of it. So if you're in a downtown LA apartment or somewhere else, like, yeah, you probably don't have a garden in your backyard to go do this stuff, but
Totally.
there's something to be said about having your own food and how much different it tastes better than like getting it at the grocery store and stuff like that. And it does feel rewarding to say, hey, I got this stuff right here. It's really cool. So I think you're solving a lot of pain points around the whole idea of growing your own food. And it's going to hit a lot of people's spots that says, hey, this is stopping me from doing it. And it's easy to do.
And it seems so out of reach for people. It seems like this crazy concept. Like, how could I even grow my own food? When it comes to lettuces or, things like that. And so that's one of my favorite things about this tech is we weren't the first company to design and make a food growing device. I mean, there are other competitors currently selling product that do pretty well. But the thing about the products that are on the market today is they oftentimes are, they're made of cheap materials, or they're obstructive to your life. And right now they're designed to look like, science projects rather than really accessible tools. And, I know that one of my personal inspirations as a company, in terms of leadership, has been Apple Computers. And maybe it's because, I grew up in California and heard the story, about their company from a young age. But I know some of our engineers, like, Rashad, who's sitting next to me here, feels the same kind of way. And one of the things that I admire so much about what Apple Computers did is when they first were building computers, they didn't invent the personal computer, but they took it from a hobbyist, enthusiast industry for people who, maybe were really nerdy and they knew how to use computers, and they made products and tools for the every man, the every woman. They made it accessible to the masses. And I think that that's really what drives our design eye and our view of this product. It's making it accessible and usable for everybody.
Very cool. Where would you say your big goal is to be in 5 years from now or 10 years, or when you say like the impact you're going to make on the world? What does that look like for Mirabelle?
Totally. Yeah. I think it's interesting to think of the technology from a wider lens, and that kind of drives, some of our vision for where we think this could go. And a really good comparable to the type of industry is actually the ice market. When ice was commercially, first manufactured and distributed, and even before it was really an industry, you could only really get ice in cold climates where the weather was, seasonal, and you could get ice when it was cold in certain areas. And when it first started to become industry, ice was taken from cold places and moved to places that weren't so cold or didn't have access to it. But along the way, similar to our agriculture system, there's spoilage. There's, ice would melt, for example. It's a perishable. Over time, technology advanced, and there started to be more regional facilities that would manufacture ice. And when they would do this, they would then transport to more localized areas. Over time, that technology started to be adapted through, technological advancement to be used in the home, right? I mean, it was first called the ice box. And when people had the first, opportunity to put this in their home to cool their food, people thought that was a crazy idea. And you'd have to spend thousands of dollars, adjusting for inflation, to have a refrigerator, an ice machine in your home. It seemed radical. And now you can't go into a home without a refrigerator. It's just so common. And so we view the produce and fresh food industry in a very similar light. Right now, our food is grown hundreds, it's sometimes thousands of miles away from the people who eat it. And along the way, there's all sorts of problems, right? There's a massive amount of spoilage and waste. 38% of all the food we grow in this country is wasted before it actually gets to the end consumer. In addition to that, there's hundreds of miles of transportation, and the food industry in general, our food system accounts for 1/3 of all human-caused GHG greenhouse gas emissions. So there's all sorts of problems and safety concerns as well that add up to the system being fundamentally just not sustainable. And so whether our product is the product that really takes over, or if it's another company with another service, we fundamentally believe, it's a fact of life that hydroponics and, alternative food growing technologies will be the future of our society in an optimal way. And it really just depends if our product is going to be the one that's adopted or adapted for society. And so, our goal in 5 years' time is to have units or adaptations of our first product, in different forms, be in every single household in the United States and to start popularizing a similar type of technology in other parts of the world as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. You got some big hopes, some big dreams, big ambitions to do it, and those are all challenging problems that need people looking at it in a different way. We're not going to always solve the same problems with the same way we've always done it, so you got to look a little differently. Very cool. So I want to chat a little bit more about you, what you're doing as a CEO. Like, as you go from somebody, you touched on it a bit. It said, you've always been entrepreneurial, but how has it been for you to, not taking a job, but going down the path of a founder of a startup? It's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of challenges along the way. What was been your struggles as you've moved through the progression of making that decision to do it to where you're at today?
Totally. Yeah. I think the biggest challenge for me, and it might be different from other entrepreneurs, because I feel like other entrepreneurs, that sense of uncertainty might be, really overwhelming for people. The uncertainty to me was never too much of an issue. And maybe that's because I have like a gross level of self-confidence that maybe isn't so healthy. But I always felt like if I keep doing this, if I keep working hard at it, it's going to manifest into something. That's been my experience in life is if, when I really put my head down on something and just grind on it nonstop, I get somewhere. And maybe it wasn't the same place I was looking at going, but it's somewhere better than where I started. And I think that because of that, that was never really as much of a concern for me. But what was really hard for me personally is I love people. I love chatting with friends and seeing family and being a part of community. And I think when this project first got started, it was very isolated. It was myself, it was my business partner, Riley, but he was a student at the time. And so a lot of days it was me working from home and feeling really boxed in, which I'm sure today, during the COVID era, people could certainly resonate with, of just feeling like you're hitting a wall of being in the same space all the time. And so the first 6 months to a year of the business, I was working out of the same chair, basically from my bedroom at a desk every single day, which to me was like, a prison cell. Like it really felt like I needed to get out, and do something different. And, really happy that in the 6 months to a year after that, when my business partner graduated, he had moved into the same apartment. We started growing food in the apartment. And so today, even last week, we harvested 45 pounds of produce in our apartment, just using the technology. And we also have brought on, other team members. And that's been a ton of fun because the engineers we work with are absolutely brilliant. They work their butts off every single day for, a common goal of bringing this technology to life. And I think that is the most rewarding part of this entire business, is to get to work with incredible people who might be as crazy as you are about something that seems like a really abstract concept. So, I think that was the initial struggle. But I'm really happy to say that, we really have grown as a team, as a unit, and I couldn't be happier with where we're at.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you were talking a bit, and this resonated a lot with me, is this idea of if you grind on something long enough and hard enough and keep pushing at it, like it may not end up where you think it's going to go, but you're going to end up somewhere.
Totally.
And I've been on this journey myself that was just kind of like, hey, I'm not even sure where I want to go with it. but I know it kind of stems from this idea of if you underestimate what you're going to do in 5 years, like what if you made those underestimations really, really big and just like really pursued them with the idea of you might not know where you're going, but you're going to go somewhere.
Right.
Your expectations are going to be blown away. And you have to just keep pounding through it and not give up the cause. I mean, there's chance, you're going to pivot. You're going to move in different directions. Whatever you start with, it's never where you end up. There's always like so I tell people, get going, get started, because whatever you think this idea is, like, you're going to do it. And you're going to go, oh, this didn't work as well as I thought it would. It's going to pivot. It's going to change. So you got to start that process now, because it's going to change. Get past that stuff and just keep plugging away out. So that's an amazing insight that you had, and I really resonated with that. As well as the part of, you're working with people that are inspiring creativity in your life. They're inspiring you to do bigger things. You're excited to go to work every day, and those are not experiences everybody gets to have every day when they go to work. A lot of people don't don't like their jobs, or they don't like their coworkers, or they feel unfulfilled, and every day you're working up, maybe you don't have you said you're working in your bedroom office. It's maybe not the glamorous thing you could say, like, hey, here's my job, I'm getting an office window up on a high rise in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah,
you
sure.
go, hey, this is much more fun. So I'm digging that answer, which brings me to my next question, which is, what does it mean to you to be all in on an idea or an outcome?
Yeah, I think the term all in, really has to do with sacrifice, and intent. To me, like, what separates people, that are really serious about launching a business, launching a startup, is understanding exactly what you're going to have to give up to make it happen. And I think the easy one to really identify is like money, right? You may not make a good amount of money if you're going to start a business, and you might have to sink your entire savings. At least that was in my case, just put it all in the business, right? And hope that it works out. But I think that, it's more than that. That's the first thing that's most glaring. But you have to think about, what is it going to mean in your life to have to be on call for what your project is at all times. I mean, my girlfriend will make fun of me because sometimes I'm up at 2 a.m. responding to customers who are on the website, from my phone, right? And it's like, if something goes wrong, you're on the job all the time, right? And it's your baby, it's your thing. And so I think the ramifications of what that really means are far reaching. And I think to be all in, it really means that you understand what that is, and you are really going to pursue it in light of those sacrifices. And I think that, some people might go into a project, and, for me, I dramatically underestimated how much I might have had to sacrifice for this business. And I did. But I think that really experiencing, what those sacrifices are, and every day choosing to make those sacrifices, to me, that's what being all in really means. Is, you're not doing both, because if you're doing both, you're not doing either of them, to the level that really it's going to take to be successful. If you're trying to do both.
Yeah, you're the first person that I remember talking about sacrifice so definitively in that answer, because you're right. If you're going to do something all in, then there's something else you're doing not in. You know what I mean? So like, totally. You're putting everything this way. There's trade-offs. Something's getting nothing. Something's getting all, and you're pointing that out, and it's important. And if you believe in yourself and you want to accomplish big things, you have to be very focused, very narrow-minded.
I think the other thing too is that if you've got this fly in your ear buzzing about some other project or something else you could be doing, the moment that things get difficult and get tough, you're going to be out of there. And when that happens, that's when innovation and creativity, that's when it just stops and it dies. When stuff gets tough and projects are kind of let go. And there is something to be said about thinking strategically and making pivots when something's not working. But I think that if something is going to work, you're going to have to get through a lot of times where you feel like you're getting punched in the mouth in order to really get to where you're going. And I think if you did have something buzzing in your ear telling you, I had that great offer from this other company, or I could be making so much more money if I was doing this. If those are really, in your head at the same time, the moment when stuff gets really tough is when, you might pull the ripcord. And I think being all in is taking it from a mindset of, I don't even have a ripcord. I'm going to see this all the way down. And if I hit my face on the bottom, then that's going to be something that I learn from and I grow from.
Yeah, for sure. Love that answer. So I'm super excited to see where you go, where you take things. I'm pretty jazzed about your enthusiasm. I'm like, hey, I need one of these for my home. I want to grow some stuff. I'm pretty excited about what you have going on. So let's talk about, who is your ideal audience you're trying to connect with? Can you describe those people in detail?
Totally. Yeah. So, we've got, a subset of people, from a consumer facing lens who are, our customers. And the people that we want to really, get into this product are people that really, it's all people. It's people that have gardened before, and maybe they're just looking for a way to simplify their workflow. or they're trying to explore new plants that they weren't really able to grow. And it's also people who have never gardened or have tried gardening, but then they've stopped because, their plants died or they moved or they didn't have any more time. So we really want to identify them to interact with and reach out to both subsets, because we really feel like this is a tool for anybody to use. So from the customer kind of perspective, that's kind of who we market and who we think would be great customers. But at the same time, in running this business, we're identifying that there's a whole group of stakeholders that aren't necessarily customers. Maybe sometimes they are because they love the devices, but they're more helping us out in different ways. For example, we've actually partnered with a product design studio called RKS. They heard about the project and we connected, and they were super jazzed about it. They really want to see us bring this project to life. If you remember, I was talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They actually have a conference room called the Maslow Conference Room. And so when we first walked in, they were like, I think this is a fit. It seems like it could be a fit. But,
like you guys are on the same thinking wavelength right there.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So they actually took equity in our company to try to bring this product to market for some of their services. And so that was really cool to see. And I think that, in having that relationship, we started to realize that those professional relationships with people that really know what they're doing at a high level and can give us advice and guidance is really, really valuable. And so from a marketing and branding perspective, we've now worked with a firm called Herman Scheer, who also took equity in our company and advises us to date on that stuff. But I think what would be really helpful for me personally as a 1.5x founder, not a second-time founder, not a first-time founder, because I've started another business, but it was a side gig. It wasn't a full business. Is to really interact with and to face with somebody who has launched a direct-to-consumer company before, and has learned about the pitfalls as well as the success tactics that you can do in that realm. Because we have a lot of relationships and advisors, but we don't know too many guys or gals who have worked on direct-to-consumer brands, from the helm. And I think that meeting more of those types of folks would be really helpful to us, just to be able to understand what we could really expect about this journey. It's one of the reasons I love watching movies and film, is because you watch a movie, you get to see people's actions and you get to learn from it. I'm also the youngest in my family. I got to see, my cousins and my sister and all these different people make really great decisions and sometimes really bad decisions, but you get to learn from it. And so talking to folks like that, I think would be really helpful for myself personally to just understand what the journey might be like.
Cool. Awesome stuff. So somebody's hearing this, they want to get connected to you. Where can they go to find you?
Yeah. So you can check out our website, Miravel.com. And we also have an email address for more general purposes, which is info@miravel.com. But if you're listening to this podcast and you want to reach me directly, you can email me at Randall@miravel.com. And that's spelled Miravel. And I really encourage folks to check out the website, because you might be hearing about the product, but seeing pictures of it will tell 1,000 words. It looks like a beautiful wooden art installation. It hangs up in your home. And even if it's not growing plants, our goal and what we try to do is to make it look beautiful and a part of your home decor and design. So yeah, I would strongly recommend, checking out the website. We're doing $100 off our units right now for people who put down a $50 deposit as kind of an early pre-sale type of promotion. And as always, I'm really always happy to connect with folks in the industry, anybody who wants to learn more about what we're doing or just offer their 2 cents, advice, guidance. We love talking with folks and learning more about how we could do things even better. So, Nate, thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Had a great time chatting with you. So all those links will be in the show notes. I encourage you to reach out, connect with Randall, connect with Miravel, see what they're up to. And if you do have a conversation with Randall, let him know where you heard about him and say hello and tell him you heard him on the All In podcast with Nate Peo. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate you.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.